Hello everyone. Continuing TinkerCAD's tutorial number 2, we're gonna talk about the basic features of TinkerCAD today. What we talked about last time, the main menu, which is this one, and classes, where we can create different groups with different purposes, and designs, where we can work on 3D design, which is modeling, and circuit simulations and animations, and also the simulation too with code blocks. And we see 3D designs here, right? So I have only one project. If you just started TinkerCAD with me, probably you have the same number of projects, just maybe one. If you had the time to play with it further, there might be more than one project, say 3 projects like this. And another thing that we talked about last time, this menu, right? Whenever we would like to create a new project, we click on this button, New. Whenever we would like to continue a previous project, we click the previous one. So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and click on my previous project, titled project number 1. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on this one, right? So Tinker this. That shows up this dialog confirming I'm working on project number 1. If so, click on this TinkerCAD. If I want to download the project, which is a 3D model, then click on this downloads. I'm gonna explain this one later, which is collaborating a project together feature by way of Google Classroom. So bear with me, I'm gonna explain this one sometime later. If I want to copy this project, which is project 01, there's a copy link. Oh, I'm sorry. The purpose of this one is to share this project with someone else. Okay, so copy link. Okay, in this case, share to Classroom, then copy the link of this project and send it to someone else who will be working together on this project. What I'm gonna do, just continuing of this project, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and tinker this, click on it, and then switch to the previous project, right, which is this one. And what we learned last time, this menu, right, whenever we want to go back to the top menu, just click on this, and project 01, that's the project name. This is a viewing cube, a viewing cube that we can manipulate the camera angle, this one. And also we talked about home button, plus, minus, zooming in the scene, the work plane, and zooming out the work plane. And we didn't have a chance to talk about this one and also this one, so we're gonna talk about these two today. And also this one, work plane menu, ruler, just to keep the consistency, I'm gonna put a box like that. Okay, and this one too. So all the features highlighted by a box shape in red, those are the things that I'm gonna talk about today. Alright, so this one, we can manipulate the angle of the work plane, right? So this one, and also I can manipulate with the mouse right button, just pressing down and drag, right, like that, to control the angle of the camera, right? Alright, so let's talk about this one, right? The name of this one, fit all in view, fit all in view. Okay, so here's a scenario. I'm working on a project with these 4 models, one star, 3D cube, donut, and something a little complicated shape, right? Say I just want to focus on this star shape, even though there are 4 in a project. It's time to work on this star shape a little further. So just I want to focus on this one. In that case, just click this, right? Just to select that one, and then click on this fit to select the shape. So fit view, like that, right? So whatever I manipulate the scene, it keeps focusing on the object, right? All right, it depends, you know, it doesn't matter how I, let's say, zooming in, zooming out, again, zooming in, right? It keeps focusing on the star shape, like that, right? So that's the purpose, this one. It's useful when you work with many different objects in a project, right? So So that's the purpose. And I want to go back to the default view, which is a home view. Then I can do manually just by rotating the camera angle, zooming out, and then shift down and pan to the left, something like that, right? So that's one way that we can go back to the home view. Another way is to click on this one, right? The home view. Just click that one. That's gonna bring up the work plane to the default view. Okay. All right. So let me explain this one. Okay. So this one, the name of this one, orthographic view. Orthographic view. Another name of this one is switch to flat view. So flat view. So the view that we are using right now, that's the perspective view with specific angles, right? Near objects looks bigger, and far objects, that's looking smaller. That's the perspective view, right? Orthographic view, which is this one, the flat view, it tries to display all the objects as much as same, right? Same. For example, so let me bring up this case. I'm gonna bring in, so let me zooming out the scene first, okay, and then bring it this cube object again. So this one and this one is the same. Just clicking on this, okay, and then I didn't change any dimensions. I didn't change any size, so exactly the size of this one and this one is the same. But if I rotate the camera angle, something like this, right, and definitely it's looking, right, this one is much bigger than this, because this one, this cube object, that's closer to the camera. I mean, closer to our eyes, right? So that's why we feel we see this one bigger, and this one is smaller than this. All right. Then what if I change the view to flat view? The flat view, just pressing down this one, the orthographic view, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this, like that, right? And it looks the same, right? So when we check the view, rotate, I'm checking the size, okay, and also distance, right? It helps to determine, right, whether these two objects are the same or different. So that's the purpose, right? So many times it's useful when we need to check the size and dimensions of the 3D object, right? This one has a toggle function, so simply we click on this one again, and that's going to switch to the other mode, which is the perspective view. So it says switch to perspective view, right? So click on this again. All right, so that came back to the perspective view. All right, and I'm going to click on this one, home. All right, so now we know all of these, okay, all of this. And let's talk about these two. So this one, Workplane tool, and shortkey to this function, that's W. Okay, either click on this or just press W. Okay. All right. Let me bring in a scenario. The scenario is to stack another object on top of this cube object, right? Say this one, the cylinder. So let me bring it over here. So and place it next to this 3D cube, right? What we need to do, we need to place this cylinder object exactly on top of this cube object, the red cube object. A way that we can do it, all right, so click on this cylinder object, and we see this like the black coin shape, right? The arrow, the coin shape, which is this one, right? So that one allows us to lift this cylinder object upside or downside. But what we need to do, we need to place this cylinder object on top of this one, right? And the height of this one, so when we click here, the white dot, the handler, we call it handler or just white dot, right? White handler, when I move my mouse cursor over that one, it shows 20 high, right? So 20 millimeter tall, okay? So I'm gonna click that one and drag up to 20. So this one, the bottom of this cylinder object, that's at 20 millimeter high, which is the top surface of this 3D cube object, right? And then we bring it this one and grab it and move it to its top. So this is one way, right, that we can place, not exactly aligned on the top of the 3D object, but this is what we need to do. For example, right, we can do that just by lifting up the object and allocate, right, its location like this. And another way that we can do, right, so I'm going to explain this one too. I want to go back to the previous the status, what we can do Control Z, right? Undo, right? That's here, this one, undo, and this is redo, right? So undo, whenever we want to go back to the previous status, we do undo. When we made a mistake and we want to go back to the previous status, we can do this one, okay? Undo. Either way, we can click on that menu or just type the Control Z, okay? Press down Control and then hit Z, all right? That's another way. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click on this, okay? Undo, right? It shows the previous status, and again, right? So that was the previous status that we didn't have this cylinder object. So I'm gonna demonstrate how we can use this Workplane tool, right? So click that one, and then bring up that Workplane here, anywhere. So the task that is to place an object on top of this 3D cube object, right? So place one Workplane here, right? Simply just click mouse left button, right? Like that. And then bring in a cylinder object and place it maybe somewhere close to the 3D object as much as you guys can. All right, so click that one. All right, so now this is cylinder object that's placed on the yellow, orange, kind of yellowish Workplane. Okay, and then click the Workplane again, and then click anywhere just to remove the temporary Workplane. Okay, so I'm gonna just click on here just to remove the temporary Workplane. All right, so the temporary Workplane that's gone, and see the cylinder object that's now on the top of the 3D cube object. All right, yeah, so this is useful whenever we need to work on a certain level for certain purposes. We can utilize this one. So I'm gonna do it again. Right, just put a temporary Workplane, and then maybe this one cone shape, bring it over here and drop it, and then go back to Workplane, drop anywhere just to remove the temporary Workplane, right? So now the cone shape that's on the same level of the cylinder shape. All right, yeah, so that's the Workplane. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this cone shape. And how? Just click that object and then hit delete key on the keyboard, right? Such that way we can remove. All right, now we talk about this one, ruler, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate just to explain what this is. Okay, click that one and bring it over here and place somewhere here and see what's gonna happen. All right, a ruler that's placed here, that's what I did. Okay, so that one, and I'm gonna go ahead and click this the red cube object, click that one. All right, so the ruler gives me rich information of this object. Without the ruler, actually it didn't show any dimensional information, just the object showed me I think it's 4 or 5 white handlers, and 4 the black handlers, the black dots, allow me to change the size of this object. So right after this one, I'm gonna show you how to change that one, I mean the dimension of an object. But let's focus on the ruler this time, okay? So this red object, edge size, that's 20 here, 20 millimeter, and on this y-axis, that's another 20 millimeter, right? And this object, the red object, that's away from this origin point, 8 millimeter. So this one, this point here, oh, I have a pen. So this point, that's 9 millimeter away from this origin point. All right, and then on this side, let's say this is y, okay, like a deep, how deep this object is located is 5 millimeter deep, okay, from this, like a length, okay. So this one is width, okay, on the x-axis, so 9 millimeter away, okay, from this origin point, and its size, that's 20, and its height, the object height, that's 20 millimeter. All right, so in a scenario that we need to move this red cube object to this origin point, simply we click this number 9 and put 0, right, and hit outside of this one, and this cube object that brings to the origin point. And we do the same, okay, so this red cube object that's 5 millimeter away toward this y-axis, right, on this y-axis, so click that one and hit 0, and that's gonna comes down like that way. all right? And we want to size, we want to resize of this object. So this one, its current size, that's 20, 20, right? So let's say this one, 25, and hit enter. And this one, say, is 100 millimeter. That's 10 centimeter, right? All right, so like that way, we can change. And again, always we can undo, right? Undo, undo. And let me go ahead and delete this one, like that. Oh,